Old Crow Medicine Show got their start busking on street corners back in 1998 and have since gone on to win 2 Grammys and receive the honor of being inducted as members of the Grand Ole Opry. They'll be bringing their renowned act to the Florida Theater on April 8th, and we're fortunate to have the band's upright bassist Morgan Jannig with us ahead of their performance. Morgan, thank you so very much for joining us today. For folks who haven't had the pleasure of listening to Old Crow Medicine Show, what are they missing, man?
I mean, they're missing a really fun time, honestly. You know, there's one thing that nobody's ever said about our shows is that they're low energy. I mean, if you want to come out and have a raucous time in Florida, you need to come see us.
I love it. I love it. From busking to the Grand Ole Opry, right? That's an incredible journey. So how has the band evolved, you know, over that, almost 30-year period or whatever it is? It's crazy.
I know, we're closing in on 30 years. We just celebrated our 25th year back in 2023. And, you know, I think that if there's one thing that's been a constant with Old Crow Medicine Show, it's been change. We've had, you know, members come and go. We've, you know, we're very rarely sitting still. We're either making records, or we're on the road, or we're, you know, working in the community. We're just doing stuff all the time. So I'd say that, you know, those guys who were playing on the street corner, you know, some of us are still around. Some of us remember how those, you know, street corners used to smell. And, but, you know, these days being able to, you know, share our music with, you know, people all over the world, I don't think that any of us thought that it would go the way that it did.
That's fantastic. It's a very, very cool story. I've been listening to you guys for a really, really long time. I actually have a band called Dakar here in town, and we released a record. And so I always love to talk to musicians about how they found their way into their specific, you know, instrument. And for you, you play upright bass, right? So how did you find your way into the world of the upright bass?
You know, I think like all musicians who kind of do this, I kind of stumbled into it. My dad had a tenor saxophone in the basement of our house in Chattanooga, Tennessee that I ran across when I was probably 11 years old. And I asked my dad if I could, you know, learn how to play it. And he got me a book, and I taught myself how to play saxophone. And then my buddy got a electric bass for Christmas one year, and I started going over to his house all the time and playing it so much that he said, "It's time for you to get your own." So I mowed lawns for a summer and bought my first $100 Ibanez bass and played it into the ground. And I think it was my sophomore year of high school, the upright bass player in the school band was graduating and they needed somebody else to play. So I picked that up too. So it's just always been, you know, one little thing after another, but I stuck with this one. This one I've been okay with for the last 30 years or so.
That's cool. I love the upright bass. It's such an amazing sound, and I'm always fascinated by anytime you use a fretless board, right? So like that's just very, very cool. I don't even understand. Sometimes you're like wondering like, how do you even know where you're supposed to be?
You know, I think that when you start out, just like anything, like anything that doesn't have hard markers, like a fretless bass or a trombone, you sound pretty bad for a while, and then, you know, over time, I think it's just like anything else. As a musician, you start just listening to other people, and as long as you're playing the same note that somebody else is playing, you're correct. So as long as you're each out of tune in exactly the right sorts of ways.
That's funny. That sounds like something that Fat Mike from NoFX has said, right? Like as long as you're in tune, we're fine, right? Or if you're all equally as out of tune, then we're just as fine as well. So that's pretty funny. So hey, Morgan, tell us about your y'all's latest release, Jubilee.
So we back in 2020, in February of 2020, we bought a building in Nashville to be kind of our home base and you know, where we would leave for tour, where we would, you know, have a recording studio where we would rehearse and store all of our stuff, with the idea that, oh, over the course of 2020, we'll fix this place up. It's going to be great. And instead, we had to start using it immediately. So luckily, I had a lot of recording gear already, and we set that up to make, you know, during that time, we were just recording music all the time. And the first of those records became Paint This Town, which came out right before Jubilee. But we still had all these great songs that we wanted to record. And so we went back into Heartland, which is our studio, and we made Jubilee. It was the second record we made with Matt Ross Bang. And it was, I think, where Paint This Town had this sort of, bigger than life feel, and we really tried to, push a lot of boundaries. Jubilee was a lot more about coming back home, coming back to the kinds of songs that we were playing about 20 years ago, and reconnecting with some of the more traditional sounds.
Well, Morgan, thank you so very much for joining us today. I really appreciate you spending some time with us this morning. And guys, make sure that you go out and see Old Crow Medicine Show. They are playing at the Florida Theater. If you want tickets, you can go to floridatheater.com. You can get some more tickets or info there. Morgan, once again, I really do appreciate your time. And guys, if you want to catch this segment again or others like it, head over to First Coast News Plus.